Hello and welcome to Gameweek 27 of the Premium Player FPL podcast. Hello to those joining for the first time and hello to regular listeners. It's been an interesting few days, obviously with the double game weeks announced and one of us playing a last minute wildcard. Mindy would be delighted to see who that was. But nevertheless, we're looking ahead to the midweek games because obviously 26 is ongoing, and then the weekend where there's going to be a lot of free hits flying about. And from Twitter, there's a lot of familiar names that are kind of building that free hit squad. So we're going to look at a few differentials as well for those who are trying to chase in the mini leagues and looking to progress in the overall rank. So it's a very exciting week, isn't it?
Yeah. Before we get into the good stuff, just to timestamp, because it's a tricky schedule to fit in a podcast this week. We're recording before the second round of the double game week, so it's Tuesday afternoon, losing days. So yeah, Champions League tonight, and the rest of the double game week fixtures for 26 occurring tomorrow and Thursday. So any news there we won't be privy to, so hopefully it doesn't change too much. And yeah, as ever, please drop a like and a sub on YouTube, and on Twitter it's premium_FPL, and same on Instagram. Admin out of the way. You love that part of the show, don't you? It's just little bits to remember. It's annoying. If only there was someone whose job it was on YouTube that could put up some prompts so it was easier. What was I going to say? There's one other bit I've forgotten. It's a Friday deadline as well this week, so yeah, be ready on Friday with your drafts and your free hits and whatnot.
Nice.
All right, should we get into it?
Yeah. So we'll talk about our 26th that was ongoing at the moment. Obviously, a last minute wildcard for yours truly. What did you make of it? Seeing obviously the game fixtures announced, were you edging towards a wildcard at all? Obviously, it was Friday, wasn't it? These fixtures were announced for 28.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming, did they? I don't think anybody predicted there was going to be that announcement. So it took everyone by surprise, and then I think I saw, was it Prass_FPL? He was the first person on my Twitter timeline that I saw mention the wildcard strategy, which then took fire. And you being the snake that you are, any chance to go back on what you said on the podcast? You couldn't wait.
Well, in my defence, I didn't anticipate these extra fixtures. Although on the pod, my transfers were going to be Veghorst, weren't they, in Salah triple captain? So I actually think I would have been better off. So yeah, story of my season really.
Well, if you were in Harry Potter and you were putting that sorting hat on, you'd definitely be in Slytherin. That's what I'm saying.
Nevertheless, I'll run through because obviously I did play wildcard. Got off to a great start with Robbo and Trent not playing. Who saw that coming? Hopefully played the Leeds game. Ramsdale in net. Most people already got him. Blank. Last minute, was it 87th or something? Brentford scored. Consolation goal, so a bit disappointing there. Saiz, 2. Gabriel, same reason. Ramsdale getting the 1 point, yellow card. Coutinho, 2, disappointing. Rafinha coming off the bench to get a goal, but only getting 5 points against United. Bit annoying. Salah captain. Probably watching that game, probably lucky to get away with 10. Interesting to see what he does against Leeds Wednesday night if he's playing. Saka, 10. Nice transfer there. Jimenez, 5, an assist. And Harry Kane. It was either going to be Son and Lacazette or Kane and Saka, and I went with the latter, and it paid off. Yeah, Kane finally delivering the goods. Considering I've had him in quite a lot this season, and he's blanked hell of a lot of times. I actually thought he's played really well the last few weeks. I did say that in the last podcast, so did stick with him and beat my team. Brilliant, best performance I've seen at the Etihad by an opposition player for quite a long time.
Yeah, that was a great, amazing performance from him, but just the narrative of it as well after you tried to sign him made it more interesting. So how's your How do you feel about this then? Any regret at playing it in 26? Or are you happy with it?
I mean, I think Wednesday will be interesting. Liverpool Leeds. If Salah gets a hat trick, then it's going to be quite a tough one to take.
It's interesting actually because I think people who wildcarded in 26, they got lucky that Salah didn't get more at the weekend because he had eight shots and 6 chances created. So just to get 1 goal and 3 bonus points, I think people who've wildcarded they've come out decent from that because it could have been so much more.
It could get 5 though, couldn't it, Wednesday night? I think other than that, obviously not looking forward to that game. Hopefully Robbo and Trent both play, get an assist between them. That'll be a nice little differential there. Having to, not many people will have the Liverpool double up in defence. But yeah, who knows? 10 games left to play here. Whereas if I didn't play wildcard, probably would have had about 6, 7. So yeah, see how those games go.
So before I move on to my team, what's your ranks now on the screen, isn't it? You've decided it's good enough to promote.
Yeah, went up. I think it was 370 to 306, 60 points live score. So yeah, hopefully it'll keep going up for the next few weeks. So obviously my strategy now is going to be free hit 27, bench boost 28. I'm going to have, I think it's 11 doubles and then the Liverpool players. I think, is that right? Obviously it depends actually on the Arsenal fixture being arranged. It's actually 11 doubles and the Arsenal players. So there's speculation that they're going to play Chelsea in this double, but it's not been announced yet. So if that comes off, and I'll be bench boosting 28 when quite a lot of people will be wildcarding, so they won't have the opportunities to bench boost. So yeah, interesting few game weeks ahead, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping it's Chelsea Norwich now that gets added into 28, not Chelsea Arsenal.
I think that benefits the wildcarders in 28, doesn't it? Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll talk more about the various trip strategies in a little bit. Moving on to my team. Oh, it's stopped. It's giving me the same problem that you had. Oh, has it moved now?
There we go. Yeah.
All right. So, I stuck with... I think I did stick with what I said on the podcast. I think you're asking me, was I tempted to wildcard before? But because I had already brought in Salah the week before, it just didn't make sense to wildcard because the main player that everyone was wildcarding for was already in my team. And yeah, I could get 3 Arsenal, 3 Liverpool just with a hit. Unfortunately, one of my transfers was Firmino. There wasn't any news of the injury before the deadline. Did you see anything about Firmino being injured?
No, I think, yeah, he got asked about it in his post-match and he said he's injured. Obviously, a bit late for you.
Yeah, it's a couple of times it's happened to me now this season. I've caught your bad luck. It's contagious.
Although your first bench player has come in, is it Craig Dawson? 9 points.
Yeah.
So,
I would have rather had Firmino, but yeah, it's nice to have some bench points coming in. I went for Firmino just because I thought, with my strategy being to free hit 27, similar to you, and then probably wildcard in 28, having Firmino against Leeds and Norwich just seemed like a great, the upside there just seemed amazing. He'd just come off a great goal against Inter in the Champions League, and he always has a little spell in the season where he gets a few goals, goes on a little spell. So I was hoping that would be it, but I probably would have been better off. Well, I definitely would have been better off going for the alternative, which was Lacazette and Diaz. So my 2 transfers were Saka and Firmino, and the other option was Lacazette and Diaz, which would have come out better. And obviously ruin the decision not to do Ronaldo to Kane for an extra -4, which Kane could end up with a monster score depending on what happens later this week. So some slight regrets, but can't complain overall. So I'm on 60, by the way, so 60 points. And yeah, as you say, I've got Craig Dawson coming in for Firmino, so 69 so far.
With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 6 left to play. Well, 7 if you want to include Salah's that extra game as a triple, aren't we?
Yeah, I should probably mention here actually that the other thing that worked out well for wildcarders this week was Cancelo and Bowen blanking, because that was one of the main. They were two of the main players that wildcarders didn't have. The single game week players with decent fixtures, so them two both getting one, you must have been pleased about.
Yeah, obviously, I thought City would get a nail down for a clean sheet against Spurs. Didn't see that game coming at all. And then, Kulusevski scored, and then the rest. Game was just manic after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think that about. Shall I move on to the next slide? My rank didn't move so far. I'm still around 102k, 122k. Sorry.
Closing in,
been hovering around that 100k mark for like 8 weeks. Just can't move. Stuck in quicksand at 100k. So yeah, I thought next we talk a little bit more here about the chip strategies. So me and you are now on different chip strategies because you're a snake. So it's quite interesting though for people listening, people watching on YouTube as well, that we've got different strategies, because then bits of what we'll say will apply to different people. So on that Friday when the fixtures dropped, I then decided that the wildcard in 28 was the best option for my team. So when those new doubles come in 28, 29, if I wildcard then to bring those in, and because the players that I want to bring in Game Week 28 that'll have doubles also play in Game Week 30, it means I'm set up then not to use the free hit in 30. So I'm quite happy to play the first free hit chip this game week, and then I shouldn't need the second one until Game Week 33. So yeah, I decided that was the best route for my team. I guess you've already talked about what you're planning, but have you got anything to add? Like, what do you think of doing it my way?
I mean, obviously that Chelsea-Norwich game in 28, I think you're going to be in a stronger position. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And yeah, the idea probably for you is try and save your transfer 29 and then 30. When the FA Cup fixtures, you're going to have two transfers anyway to bring your team to 11. So yeah, I think either my strategy or your strategy was the right thing to do. And there's people that are going to be wildcarding a bit later, but I do think there's potential to maximise this schedule here.
Yeah, so I'm not planning to bench boost in the next few. Currently, I think I'll still aim to use it in 36. But what's your plan for the bench boost?
I think that Arsenal-Chelsea game, 28, because I think pretty much every player would be doubling. I'm trying to think who wouldn't be. So fingers crossed for that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's all I have to say, I think.
Fair. So what would you say to people who maybe have already used one of their free hits?
Sorry, it's just Liverpool that I wouldn't have blanking, so the 3 there. 3 Liverpool players won't have a double. What was that, sorry?
If you've only got one free hit left, which is a lot of people are in that situation, would you, and you've got a few Liverpool Arsenal players this week, would you use the free hit you've got left this
week? It probably depends how much cover you've got of these popular players in 27, because on paper, this 27 fixture looks great, doesn't it? For Tottenham at Leeds, City at Everton, United at home to Watford. Even defence now for United, even though it doesn't look too great. We know how shot shy of Watford are. So, yeah, Luke Shaw or someone like that. It's just whether the fixtures are going to be that good again for the free hit in the running, which I'm not too sure will be. But then if you can cover 6 or 7 of these key players, then it probably isn't worth it.
Yeah, I think if you're deciding on that, it'll be important. We mentioned last week to use one of the tools online like FPL.team or Live FPL's fixture planner. Just work out with the tool on there that lets you see what your team's going to look like in future weeks, see how many players you're going to have with doubles and how many players you're going to have blanking in each week, and that should help you decide which week you're going to suffer the most damage in, depending on what chips you want to play and what you've got left. So yeah, that was what I was doing on Friday evening once those new fixtures dropped. Yeah, it's quite handy having that tool, because trying to picture in your head what your team's going to look like in 4 or 5 weeks' time is difficult. So, anything else to add on the chips? I don't think there's anything else. But the bench boost one is the main. It's the main thing I still need to think about. I think whether I use it in, because I've got the option to use it in 29 because there's doubles then as well. It's just whether it's just about deciding whether I want to use it 29 or the massive double game week in 36. So yeah, that's to be certain. That's TBC. Not sure yet. Are we done here?
Yeah, cool.
So for the podcast listeners, I'll just reiterate what we've got on the screen here. So for me, it was free hit this week, wildcard in 28 when there's the next lot of doubles. Bring in players for 28 and 29, like a mix of those teams that have doubles that in those 2 weeks. And because the players that I'm bringing in then, especially the ones that double in 28, they have fixtures in 30. So I think that's teams like Villa and Leeds, etc. They play in the blank game week. So it works out well for my team to wildcard then, get those in. Don't have to use a free hit in 30. Executive summary. All right, let's move on. So we're going to start talking about this week, why it's a good week to free hit it, essentially, and the best players to bring in for 1 week only. So for the YouTube viewers, you'll see here it's a chart from TED Talks FPL. These graphs, what do you call them? Graphs, charts. They're quite handy just for visualizing stuff like XG and the difference between players getting high quality chances and players getting low quality chances. So just to give an overview for the people listening on the podcast later on, essentially the 3 best players for this week, which kind of, I guess you could say it's obvious, but you'd maybe expect Ronaldo to be higher. But yeah, Son, Fernandes and Kane, the top 3 in terms of the highest numbers of big attempts. And then at the bottom, or towards the bottom, you've got players like De Bruyne, Foden, Pogba, Rashford. They're sort of getting the lower quality chances. So yeah, I think in a 1 game week period, it makes sense to target the players that are getting the big chances because they've got higher chance of returning. Whereas, say over a 6 week period, Foden, who's sort of in the middle here, with his value, you'd be happy to bring him in because if he gets lots of the small attempts, the small quality chances over a while, he is going to convert some of those. But on a free hit, 1 week only, it's worth paying the premium here for the players getting the high quality chances. So yeah, but before I waffle on for ages, anything you wanted to pick out from this chart?
Bruno, for me, like United have not followed too closely over the last few months, but then I watched the Leeds game and just how high up the field he is. Like he is pretty much the focal point, isn't he? I know Ronaldo was buzzing around him, but yeah, I was just surprised at how involved he was at the key end of the pitch. Obviously, he had a tactical switch, didn't he, Ragnick, when the results weren't going too well, and he's really benefited from that. And I actually think people that have him long term, not just a free hit, he's suddenly become a really good option again, I think.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much of this data. So this data we're looking at here is for the last 6 weeks.
So that would have been around the change, wouldn't it? Yeah.
But I wonder how much of this come just from the Leeds game.
Yeah, true.
Because like we said on the podcast last week that Leeds just always seem to struggle with midfielders running from deep. So yeah, Bruno's just typified that perfectly. And him and McTominay have done that in the past. Like, yeah, he got a hat-trick against Leeds in the first game of the season, didn't he? So it seems to be a bit of a thing with teams playing Leeds and the attacking midfielder scoring well, which brings us on to Son.
Yeah.
So yeah, Son could maybe outscore Kane this week potentially if that pattern continues. Because yeah, they just leave themselves so open for that run from because it's man to man marking. Once you pass your man, that's it. You're through. So yeah, Son and Kane both seem like the way Leeds play, just no brainers to have in, don't they?
Q a 2-0 loss. Because don't forget, Spurs come off the back of 3 defeats for that City game. Like, all well and good beating City, unbelievable performance, but yeah, the last 3 games beforehand, there's nothing to say they might lose that game against Leeds. Obviously, everyone's just thinking now after that game, high on confidence, they're going to wash the floor with Burnley, going to wash the floor with Leeds. But yeah, it'll just be interesting to see that Burnley game on Wednesday and Leeds, see whether they can back it up.
I think they might struggle against Burnley because the trend seems to be just Spurs under Mourinho, Nuno, and Conte is that teams that sit in and can defend well, they struggle to break them down. But teams that are open and that they can counter-attack against, for example, like what they did against City, you can't do that against Burnley and Wolves, hence the recent losses. But Leeds, they aren't going to sit in and play a low block, are they?
No.
So I think there is a higher chance of the best players doing well against Leeds than against Burnley potentially.
I mean, I'm definitely going to pick them, and I think everyone will on free hit. For me, where this free hit is going to be won and lost is most teams are going to have 8 or 9 players the same, aren't they? Obviously, Pope in goal, Burnley defender, go on, Weghorst, I can carry on. But yeah, it's the people like Mahrez, Sancho, Foden, Pogba potentially, De Bruyne. That 4th or 5th midfield choice, I reckon, is going to be what makes or breaks the free hit, because everyone's going to have Bruno, everyone's going to have Son, everyone's going to have the same strike force: Kane, Weghorst, and Broha, probably Cancelo, me, and then probably the 4th defender, whether it's Shaw, 3rd defender, whether it's Shaw or someone else. So yeah, it's those players in the central area that I think are going to be interesting around the free hit.
But before we actually get into our free hit draft, because obviously not everyone's on free hit, if you were taking a -4 or using your free transfer to bring in, if you're going to bring in 2 players from
that I had to pick long term,
not long term, but like say for example, to cover the damage the best, like who would you go for this week, Son or Kane, if you had to pick one from the Spurs boys?
Kane. I've got to back up what I picked in wildcard, haven't I? Who would you go?
Given its Leeds and just what I've been saying about the trend of them conceding from midfielders, I'm going to probably go for Son. I can just see Kane in his little dropping into that deep number 10 position, just slipping it through to Son for a hat trick. It obviously won't quite work out that way, but would it be surprising equally? Should we move on from this and get on to the team? Oh, hang on. We've got here... I wasn't expecting this slide.
Hey, hang on. If you carry on, if you go to the next one, maybe hit escape and refresh. The changes might not have pulled through. I've added the free hits into
This is where the fact that we're a raw, unfiltered podcast. We'll stress that we're the most unprofessional FPL podcast in the business. Why is it working so slow? The podcast listeners be really, really enjoying. Do you want to maybe sing a little song? Fill the gap?
Here we go. They've added in. Yeah, view it from 7th slide.
Okay.
6th slide.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start with yours.
So I'll read out the free hit draft I've put together. So it's Pope in goal. Obviously, Burnley have got a double. They're just clean sheet. Potential there for Pope to get a decent score over the two. Just a generic 3.9 cheapest goalkeeper available. Not even heard of that guy, but just a placeholder really. Any cheap goalkeeper. And then the three I think this formation will be 3-4-3 the way I play it. So I've gone Ben Mee for the same reasons as Pope, Cancelo, and Aït-Nouri. So Cancelo obviously had him all season long, most of us, and Aït-Nouri I've gone for the price 4.4. The Wolves defense is decent, and I think he's got higher potential in a one game week period for an attacking return than the defenders. Could get an assist. I think he
got one at the weekend, did he?
Aït-Nouri, all right. I saw you.
Did he not assist for the second goal for Podence? He might have passed it to someone he might have assisted the assister, actually.
Right. He had a shot in the box as well. Went just wide. I think it hit that. What's that post called that's behind the actual post? The thing that keeps the net stanchion. That's it. That word was escaping me.
No, he didn't get it. He must have passed it. He passed it to Dendoncker. That was it. Dendoncker got the assist.
And then to fill up the two bench spots, I've just gone cheapest trips, Simicast 3.7, and then Ben Johnson because Soufal's not been playing recently, and then Fredericks started at the weekend, but obviously wasn't to Moyes' liking, and Johnson came on for the second half. So I think now Ben Johnson's got a chance at getting a run at right back again, like he had at the start of the season. What I would say there is, if someone like you who's got more team value than me, would probably be able to get a better first bench option for the defenders. But with my team value, that was the best I could do. And then for the midfielders, which is where the party is this week. So for the four in the 3-4-3, it's Bruno, Mahrez, Sterling, and Son. We were just talking through the big quality chances and all that stuff before on the previous slide. Mahrez and Sterling. Sterling's getting the most chances to actually score, like highest quality chances, XG chances to bag, which makes him the most likely one, I think, in a given game week to get a hat trick or something. And then Mahrez on pens and decent assist threat. Like his creation numbers are decent. And
in terms of Pep Roulette as well, I think Mahrez will definitely play because he didn't play Spurs game. He came on, but City looked a lot better. Sterling's probably the risky one there, but he's a lot less risky than Foden, I reckon, and a few others.
Yeah, so I think given the whole roulette thing, like I'm not considering captain a City player, but given they're playing Everton, I think the last two times they played Everton, they've put like 3 or 4 past them as well. I was listening to the FPL Wire boys discussing the City versus Everton fixture just before we came on. And yeah, they're not really impressing that much under Lampard or the Everton. So I think it's worth taking the risk of the rotation and taking it on with the best City players you can afford.
Who did they say were the 3 best options out of interest? Was it these 3?
I think they went Mahrez top, Sterling second, and then Cancelo third. How would you order it? I think I'd actually go Sterling top.
These are the top 3, right?
Yeah, but if you were literally ordering it 1, 2, 3, what would you do?
Probably Sterling top, Mahrez, then Cancelo. Because Cancelo had a very poor game against Spurs. Like he probably will still play against Everton, but that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. He might play Stones again. Put Laporte left back. You don't know.
And then the strikers, just to round off my draft: Kane, Broya and Veghorst. So people who got Veghorst last week, obviously pleased with his returns at the weekend, and with the double, with it being Crystal Palace and Leicester both susceptible to set pieces and conceding from corners, etc. I think Veghorst looks a great option. Probably going to be the standout captain choice, but yeah, we'll talk about that later. And then Broya, Southampton playing Norwich. He's been doing really well for his price, basically. Having him there at 5.4 enables the rest of it. And Kane, we talked about Spurs and Leeds conceded so many goals. So yeah, that's my team. I went for Dewsbury Hall as my fifth midfielder, just because, say, if one of them doesn't play, I think Dewsbury Hall is an all right option to come in off the bench. Let's get onto your draft. It's pretty much the same, isn't it?
Yeah. Good to see. We've both shown a bit of originality. Obviously, these teams, a lot of people free hitting. The free hit's a differential in itself, isn't it? So even though a lot of teams are similar, not everyone is playing the free hit. So that's what makes it differential. But yeah, in terms of difference, I'm probably pretty set on 10 of these. It's just the last defender. So Pope, Cancelo, me, Fernandes, Son, Mahrez, Sterling, Veghorst, captain, Kane, Broha, like yourself. And then potentially, I think I can stretch Livramento to Shaw at home to Watford, which I probably will do. But then it comes off the back of United's Champions League game. And obviously Dalot got his rest at the weekend. So there's nothing to say that Shaw might get his rest against Watford, might he? And Telles might come in. So that's the only interest. That's the only doubt in my mind. But yeah, that'll probably be the final decision. But in terms of free hit, I actually think it's a straightforward decision this week. I know we're trying to sell our podcast, but I don't think there'll be not too many teams are going to stray from this. So we're going to run through three differentials after this. But yeah, in terms of probably what I'll go for, that'll be
just with this draft before we move on. Are you happy with that bench? Because there's a chance Livramento doesn't play. Southampton, some weeks they've been playing Perot, and some weeks Kyle Walker-Peters has been moving over to the flank. So I'm not sure it's a lock that Livramento plays. Would you not maybe consider having a better first bench option, given you've got the money?
Potentially, although he did play the last game, didn't he? And they played very well in. He got an assist. And he's only not been playing because he's been coming back from injury, hasn't he? Before his injury, he played pretty much every game. But I get what you mean around the uncertainty.
Because the thing is that while he's been out, Kyle Walker-Peters and Perot have been playing really well. Southampton in general have been playing really well.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that was because Livramento wasn't playing, but the fact that the other two have just done decent just puts the slight doubt there.
I think anyway, I might move to Shaw anyway. I just hope that he plays that Watford game.
Can you afford Maguire?
Maguire's a bit more. Is Maguire 5.5?
Right.
Is Maguire? Is he 5.5? Yeah.
I can't see without that.
I'll have a look.
I just
I don't think I could stretch that much.
Just if we operate on the popular bus theory, two come in at once. He's finally scored a header. Man United finally scored from a corner after having about 150 of them this season. Maybe he'll get another one. But yeah, unlikely. But yeah, if you've got the money there, Maguire is maybe a slightly better option, just for that slight set piece threat.
The security starts, I reckon.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Tellers has been out with COVID and stuff, so maybe he could come back in for sure.
I was just trying to work out whether that.
Well, one other thing while you're looking at that, obviously,
I'll be 0.5 short, I reckon, Maguire.
Right. Not everyone will be able to put this draft together, people who are free hitting, because not everyone has the same team value, especially as you. There'll be a lot of people who want the same team value as me, even. Of the big hitters here, which one, if you had to sacrifice, to go to the cheaper option, which one would you make the sacrifice? For example, would you do like Mahrez to Foden, or would you do Fernandes to Sancho, or like where would you look to maybe make some money back if you couldn't quite afford this draft?
Probably in terms of sacrifice, probably Sterling, I reckon.
You just Sterling to Foden?
Yeah. I mean, if both Sterling and Mahrez both play, then I'd probably say Mahrez. But I just think there's less uncertainty around Mahrez playing. I could be very wrong, but who am I to second guess Pep?
Sound. Yeah, I think we'll go into the differentials. The differentials now. So for those who are living a bit more aggressively, looking to come out of missionary and get themselves into reverse cowgirl. I think if Reguilon's fit for the different defender for the wildcard for the free hit draft, I'd go for Reguilon. For the similar reason to Son, I just think Leeds will struggle to track the runs that he makes. He's been unlucky not to score recently, and yeah, I just think there'll be so many goals in that game, the way Leeds play, and he's got the most upside of any Spurs defender. And then for the midfield differential option, I've gone for Sancho. He's having his best spell of the season. He looks to be someone who Rangnick trusts now. He's playing 90 minutes more often than not, starting over the likes of Rashford consistently. 2 assists at the weekend. I actually think, with what you were saying before about where you'd look to save money if you couldn't afford this draft we've got on screen, I'd consider Sancho over Fernandes rather than Foden over Sterling. I just think that there's way more goals in the City Everton game than there will be in the United Watford game. So I'd rather have the best possible options in the City game and make the sacrifice in United's game, if that makes sense. And then for the differential striker, I've gone for Che Adams. He's going under the radar because he's more expensive than Brower, but I think for points wise, he's actually been outperforming Brower. So Che Adams, if you've got the money there to splash up front. What about you?
Interesting. I think defender probably be a United one, whether it's Maguire, Shaw, even Dalot, because he got his rest at the weekend. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka played okay, but not too great. So I think he'll probably will play that Watford game, unless Wan-Bissaka is now in Premier League games and Dalot might get the Champions League. Maguire's obviously more secure, but I think I'll probably get in the United back line. That'll be my differential. Midfield, obviously we've got 2 Spurs boys there. Other one who put City to the sword, Kulievski. Nice price as well. I think he's only 6 mil, 6.5. So yeah, great differential and great price for those who want to use the budget elsewhere. Another one in midfield probably would be Cornet if you don't want to go to the defender.
Is he fit, Cornet? Did he come off injured? He seems to always come out with a bit of an injury doubt. Just double check on that with Cornet.
Did it? Yeah. Oh yeah. Daesh mentioned something. He's at press conference, didn't he, about still not fully fit from AFCON. He's not got a flag, but yeah, worth keeping an eye on. Play 54 minutes. And then striker, I think, is a tricky one. I think those 3 just scream to you, don't they, this week? I think it's quite straightforward. Obviously, City not got a striker. Ronaldo's not much of a differential, or is he? And I don't think he's looking that great either. I'm glad I got rid of him. It's a tricky one, the striker position, I think, this week. I'm trying to think who.
I guess Jimenez maybe it's an option, but at the price, it's tricky to go that far.
West Ham away, yeah, or Palace, Edward.
Yeah, I think what you said before about playing the free hit itself being a differential is important to remember, and
I think the striker one's tricky. To go just straight away from them three, I reckon a tricky one. Just because those three just scream. I know Adams is probably a nice one if you don't fancy Broho, but then yeah, why would you risk going against the main man?
So yeah, and you're locked on Venkos as your captain then for this week on this free hit.
I think so. I think you've got to play a double, haven't you?
Yeah. I think the same for me. If I was to waver, it would be Son or Kane. I think there's the potential for Son or Kane to get more in that Leeds game than Burnley doing the double. But yeah, that's maybe where some people might decide to. Like if you've got like a template free hit draft like this, you could maybe live a little with your captain choice if you fancy Spurs to continue that form that they showed against City, against Leeds. I'll let you chat this. This is the what we were mentioning before, wasn't it, about the rearranged fixture for 28?
Yeah, just a quick one on this because this is obviously changing all the time. So Ben Crellin now thinks that there's only going to be 2 updates to the schedule before the international break, which is after game week 30. So hopefully we'll be locked in now for a nice few game weeks, 7, 8, 27, 28, 29, 30. Obviously 28, the big decision is whether it's going to be Chelsea v Arsenal or Norwich v Chelsea. I think that's around, is it broadcasters? It's because 28 midweek is Champions League week, so that's the reason it might not be Chelsea v Arsenal, just because the broadcasters might not be too happy. So that would be the reason it might go Norwich Chelsea, but we'll see there. And then 30 blanks, obviously going to be the FA Cup. So yeah, keep an eye on FA Cup results and what that means. Obviously, we'll know by the end of play after the final FA Cup game what those blanks are going to be in 30. So yeah, hopefully not too much will change now until the running 31 to 38, where yeah, that's not as clear at the moment.
So yeah, what I'd say here is that if you aren't on free hit and you've got those Chelsea players who've got a blank this weekend, if you've still got Rudiger, for example, I know some people just kept Rudiger. It's worth keeping him now, isn't it? If you can.
Yes.
Because then you've got him ready for this period.
Yeah. So
yeah, this is where having some form of way of looking at what your team's going to be like in the future comes into play. Looking at where these fixtures might fall.
I think it's going to be an interesting fixture change. That it's either going to be victory for those wildcard 26 or those wildcard 28, isn't it? That fixture, because Norwich Chelsea suddenly becomes a triple up for those wildcard 28. Yeah, suddenly becomes a good strategy.
So, well, yeah. I'm not sure exactly who the third option would be for me for Chelsea, given how Lukaku's playing. I guess you've just got to take that gamble. I guess we've talked a lot about the future weeks, haven't we? And do you want to maybe discuss a little bit of captain for 28?
Yes, this is obviously the big double, isn't it? You got Southampton, Newcastle, Wolves, Leeds, Villa, Watford, and then potentially probably will be Chelsea. And they'll have either Burnley and Norwich or Burnley and Arsenal. Or it'll be Arsenal, because it'll be Chelsea v Arsenal, or Norwich, so it'll be Chelsea v Norwich. So I think if Chelsea get that double, they suddenly become the best captain choice, don't they? Looking at the ones there, the Villa ones doesn't look too bad, but then they've stalled a bit, haven't they, the past few weeks after a great start for Gerrard.
Well, you were laughing at me last week for calling them said they were catfish. Yeah, they definitely trolled lots of people. Luca Dean, another trap I've fallen into this season. I seem to always fall for Luca Dean. Like even when he was at Everton, I just get sucked into his set piece threat and he's going to get an assist from a corner and all that jazz. But yeah, it's never happened for me while he's in my team anyway. I think is that everything for this week?
Yeah, I think so.
So yes, obviously a lot of it is focused on the free hit this week because Callum and I are both going to be playing that chip this week most likely. And hopefully, for those of you who are on free hit, it's giving you an idea of maybe which players you want to use your free transfers on, and I guess covering Weghorst and one of the Spurs attackers is probably the priority if you're just looking to get through this week without playing the free hit. That's probably sound advice, that, isn't it? Those two.
Yeah,
cover the main captain and then cover the player in the most explosive game. If you've got 2 free transfers, maybe you could add in one of the City players. And then we'll be back next week, hopefully at a more normal time, and we'll have a bit more time to put something together. A tricky week this week with just everything being so close together. But yeah, good to get something out, and good luck for the rest of this double game week and next game week.
Yep. Right.
Catch you next
I'll
time.
see you next week. Bye bye.